Have you ever wondered why your most powerful moments of rage feel both intensely personal and yet utterly alien to who you want to be? What if those explosive impulses were not failures, but encoded messages from your deeper self, pointing the way to profound strength? This video will teach you the Stoic methods to pause, decipher that message, and transform destructive anger into unshakable power. Pause before you blow up. Stoic Reaction, Calm Method, compiled and published by Stoic Power. Lessons 1. Emotional triggers are signals. Imagine a master blacksmith standing before his forge, the flames leaping with a brilliant, intense heat. He does not fear the fire. He understands it. He knows its blistering heat is not a threat to be extinguished, but a necessary and powerful force for transformation. He uses its energy to shape raw, unformed metal into a sword of great strength and purpose. Your emotional triggers, those sudden, jarring flashes of anger and profound irritation, are that fire. They are not enemies to be vanquished, but powerful signals to be understood and harnessed. The untrained mind, however, experiences these daily triggers as personal attacks, as unprovoked assaults on its peace. A critical comment from a colleague, the frustrating crawl of traffic when time is short, a promise casually broken, they feel like sparks landing on the dry tinder of our nerves. The immediate and overwhelming sensation is one of being wronged, of an urgent, primal need to defend our territory or to retaliate against the source of our discomfort. In that instant, we cease to be the blacksmith, the calm master of the forge. Instead, we become the fire itself, consumed by its chaotic heat, and we forget that our true role is to be in control. The transformative solution, rooted in the deep soil of Stoic wisdom, is to fundamentally reframe your perception of a trigger. It is not an attack. It is a notification. It is a vital signal sent from the control room of your inner world, like a warning light flashing on a complex dashboard, indicating that one of your core values, deeply held beliefs, or unspoken expectations has been violated or threatened. The practice, therefore, is to learn to meet the heat of the trigger, not with the reciprocal heat of rage, but with the cool inquiry of a calm, investigative curiosity. The Stoics teach us to look beneath the turbulent surface of our first impressions. An external event, the comment, the traffic, the broken promise, is in itself neutral, a simple fact in the world. It is our internal judgment of that event that ignites the fire. By consciously choosing to view a trigger as a signal, you execute a profound shift in power. You move from being the helpless victim of the event to becoming an empowered student of your own intricate reactions. The benefit of this shift is immense. You are no longer a ship tossed about by the merciless winds of external events, but are instead an astute navigator, using the data from your own emotional responses to learn, to adapt, and to achieve true self-mastery. To begin this practice, you must become a trigger tracker. For one full week, commit to this simple but powerful exercise. When you feel that familiar, hot flash of anger or a surge of deep irritation, pause. Before you react, before you speak, before you even fully form a thought. Take out a small notebook or open a new note on your phone. With the detachment of a scientist gathering data, write down just two things. First, the specific, objective, external event that occurred. Second, the underlying rule, belief, or expectation in your mind that was broken by this event. For example, a car swerved in front of me without signaling, the external event. The corresponding internal rule might be, people should drive with consideration and respect for others' safety. Or perhaps, a colleague publicly pointed out a mistake in my work, the event. The broken rule? Colleagues should offer criticism privately and constructively. This deceptively simple practice will begin to illuminate the hidden architecture of your anger. You will discover, with startling clarity, that your frustration is not a random force of nature, but is consistently and predictably linked to a set of personal, often unconscious rules you have created for how the world should operate. This awareness is the non-negotiable first step to reclaiming your power, for only when you can see the rules can you begin to question, and perhaps even modify them. Commit to tracking your triggers this week. Do not judge what you find, simply observe and record with neutral interest. See each trigger not as an affront, but as a valuable messenger arriving from your inner world, bearing crucial intelligence for your journey of growth. This is the first essential step in learning to master the fire within. Now that we have learned to see our triggers as signals, we must develop the discipline to create the sacred space needed to read them clearly before the fire spreads beyond our control. Our next lesson will reveal how to reclaim the crucial, powerful territory that lies between the stimulus and the rage. To continue on this vital path with us, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Stoic Power. Your support is the fuel that allows us to share this timeless wisdom with all who seek it. Lessons 2. Reclaim space between stimulus and rage, between the blinding flash of a lightning strike and the deafening roar of the thunder that follows. There is a space. It is a silent, potent interval, pregnant with energy and possibility. Within the intricate network of the human nervous system, a similar and even more powerful space exists. A microscopic, timeless gap that separates the event that provokes us from the emotional explosion of anger that so often follows. All of our power, all of our freedom, and all of our peace are either won or lost within that sacred interval. For the vast majority of us, however, this space has collapsed. It is functionally non-existent. The stimulus and the rage have become fused into a single, instantaneous, and seemingly uncontrollable event. The insult is thrown, and the anger erupts as if by reflex. The obstacle appears, and the frustration boils over without a moment's hesitation. We live our lives as if we are hardwired for immediate retaliation, believing that our furious reactions are automatic, inevitable, and simply a part of who we are. Unknowingly, we have surrendered the most powerful and strategic territory in our own mind to the slightest provocation, becoming kings and queens of a vast inner kingdom who flee at the first sight of an invading army. The transformative solution is to consciously, deliberately, and strategically reclaim that space. It is the disciplined practice of inserting a strategic pause the very moment you perceive a trigger. This is not a passive, helpless waiting. It is an active, courageous, and disciplined creation of a mental buffer zone. It is the simple, yet infinitely profound act of taking one single, deep, conscious breath before you allow yourself to think, speak, or act. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a former slave who became one of antiquity's greatest teachers, reminds us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we might listen twice as much as we speak. This timeless wisdom applies just as much to our inner world as it does to our outer one. The strategic pause allows us to listen to our own mind before we permit it to speak through our actions. It powerfully breaks the hypnotic, automatic chain of stimulus reaction that holds so many of us in bondage. The benefit of this practice is nothing less than the restoration of choice. In that brief moment of reclaimed space, you give your rational, higher mind, the inner Stoic, a chance to come online and offer wise, constructive alternatives to a purely emotional outburst. Your immediate practice is to make the breath your first responder. The instant you recognize a trigger, as you learned to do in our last lesson, your new, immediate, and conditioned action must be to take one slow, deliberate, and full breath. This is your new reflex. Inhale deeply through your nose for a slow count of 4, hold that breath gently for a count of 4, and then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth for a count of 6. As you do this, focus your entire attention on the purely physical sensation of the air entering your lungs, the slight expansion of your chest, and the feeling of release as the air leaves your body. This single mindful breath is your declaration of independence, your silent act of rebellion against the tyranny of emotional slavery. This simple practice, when applied with consistency, will begin to feel like a newly discovered superpower. That one strategic breath is often enough to short-circuit the primitive, reactive fight-or-flight response that fuels rage. It sends a powerful biological signal of safety and control to your nervous system, preventing the flood of adrenaline and cortisol that cloud judgment and demand immediate, aggressive action. You will feel a sense of calm authority return, a tangible feeling of being at the helm of your own ship once more, rather than being helplessly tossed by the violent waves of emotion. For the next week, your singular mission is to own the breath. Every time a trigger appears, no matter how small or large, respond first with one strategic breath. View this not as a chore or a technique, but as a sacred act of reclaiming your freedom, one moment at a time. Let this be your first and most trusted line of defense in the battle for inner peace. We have now learned how to create a space with our breath. But what precisely are we to do within that precious, reclaimed space? How do we use it effectively to transform our response? Our next lesson will reveal where the true, life-altering power of this pause lies. If you are committed to this practice and this journey, share your intention in the comments below. Your declaration will strengthen your own resolve and inspire others. And be sure to subscribe to Stoic Power to continue building your inner fortress with us. Lessons 3. Power lies in the pause. Imagine a grandmaster of chess, seated in absolute stillness before the checkered board. Her opponent has just made a powerful, aggressive move, creating an immediate and obvious threat. The novice player would feel an overwhelming urge to react instantly, to counter the threat without a moment's thought, driven by the panic of the attack. But the grandmaster is different. She does not move. She embraces the pause. Within that silent, deliberate space, she does not merely see the immediate threat. She sees the entire board. She sees the hidden patterns, the future possibilities, the subtle weaknesses in her opponent's position that were created by his own aggression. Her power is not in the speed of her response, but in the profound depth of her pause. This is the inner state we must cultivate. The common, painful human experience is to squander the sacred space we create with our breath. We take a pause, but our mind continues to race, replaying the offense, rehearsing our angry retort, and justifying our impending rage. We have created a ceasefire only to spend it reloading our weapons. The problem is that we do not know what to do with the pause. It feels like an empty, awkward silence rather than a strategic opportunity. We feel the pressure of the moment mounting, and our resolve crumbles. We are like a general who has successfully halted the enemy's advance, only to have no strategic plan to execute during the lull in the fighting. The potential of the pause is lost, and we inevitably succumb to the original reactive impulse. The transformative solution is to understand that the pause is not empty. It is a crucible of creation. It is the workspace of wisdom. The purpose of the pause is to consciously shift your focus from the external provocation to your own internal locus of control. It is a moment to ask yourself one simple, profoundly Stoic question. What in this situation is truly within my power? The answer, as the Stoics teach, is never the external event itself. You cannot control another person's words, the state of the traffic, or the outcome of a situation. The only things ever truly within your power are your own thoughts, your own judgments, and your own actions. This singular question acts like a powerful magnet, pulling your attention away from the frustrating, uncontrollable elements of the situation and focusing it squarely on the domain where you are sovereign. The core idea is that power is not the ability to change the world around you, but the unwavering discipline to master the world within you. By asking, "What is in my control?" you instantly cease to be a victim and become a strategist. You stop wasting precious mental and emotional energy on things you cannot change and begin to marshal your resources for a deliberate, effective, and virtuous response. The immediate benefit is a surge of empowerment. The feeling of helpless rage, which is fueled by a sense of powerlessness, begins to dissolve, replaced by a sense of calm, focused agency. You are no longer a rudderless boat in a storm, but the captain, hand firmly on the tiller, ready to navigate. To put this into action, you must combine it with the strategic pause from our previous lesson. Your new sequence is as follows. First, the trigger occurs. Second, you take your one strategic breath. Third, during that breath, you silently ask yourself the question, what here is up to me? Let the answer anchor you. The traffic is not up to you, but your choice to listen to a calming podcast instead of fuming is. A colleague's rude comment is not up to you, but your decision to address it calmly later or to dismiss it entirely is. A flight delay is not up to you, but your choice to use that unexpected time to read or meditate is. By consistently practicing this sequence, trigger, breath, question, you will fundamentally rewire your brain's response to adversity. You will build a powerful new neural pathway that leads not to rage, but to resourcefulness. You will find that your life is filled with fewer frustrating dead ends and more open fields of opportunity. This week, your practice is to become the grandmaster. In every situation that triggers you, create the pause, and within that pause, ask the question. See every challenge not as a personal affront, but as a training opportunity to distinguish between what is yours to control and what is not. We have now learned to create a pause and to use it to find our center of power. But what if the storm inside is already raging? How do we find calm when our mind is a tempest? Our next lesson will teach you how to anchor yourself in the calm of the present moment, even when the future looks stormy. To continue this essential training, please leave a comment below sharing one thing you can control that you often forget, and subscribe to Stoic Power for more tools to master your inner world. Lessons 4. Anchor yourself in present calm. Imagine a lone, ancient tree standing atop a windswept cliff, its branches gnarled by centuries of storms. The wind howls, the rain lashes down, but the tree stands firm. It does not fight the wind. It yields to it. Its strength comes not from its rigid branches, but from its deep, unseen roots, which are anchored firmly in the earth, in the solid, unwavering reality of the present moment. That tree is the model for the Stoic mind in the midst of turmoil. While the winds of worry about the future and regret about the past may howl around us, our strength lies in our ability to anchor ourselves in the calm, solid ground of the here and now. The human mind, however, is a natural time traveler. When faced with a present moment trigger, our thoughts rarely stay in the present. Instead, they instantly rocket into a catastrophic future, imagining all the terrible things that might happen as a result of this event. Or they plunge backward into the past, replaying old grievances and injustices that feel similar to the current one. We are rarely ever dealing with just the event itself. We are battling the imagined ghosts of the future and the resurrected zombies of the past. Our anger and anxiety are magnified 100-fold because we are not reacting to one problem, but to an entire timeline of problems, most of which are not real. This is why a small, present-moment frustration can feel so overwhelmingly large. The transformative solution is to train your attention to anchor itself in the present moment, to root yourself in the physical reality of the now. This is the practice of sensory grounding. It involves intentionally and forcefully directing your full attention to the raw data your 5 senses are providing you in this exact moment, pulling your mind away from the fictional worlds of the past and future. The core Stoic idea here is that suffering and emotional turmoil are almost never found in the present moment itself. They are products of our mind's projections about the past and future. In the pure, unadorned present moment, there's usually just sensation. There's calm. The benefit of this practice is immediate relief. It's like pulling the plug on a noisy machine. By cutting off the fuel supply of future anxieties and past regrets, the internal firestorm of emotion quickly loses its intensity. To practice sensory grounding, use the 5-4-3-2-1 method within the pause you have learned to create. After your strategic breath, and after you have asked what is in your control, you gently guide your mind through this sequence. First, silently acknowledge 5 things you can see right now. Notice their color, shape, and texture. I see the wood grain on my desk. I see the blue pen. I see the dust on the screen. Second, acknowledge 4 things you can physically feel. I feel the pressure of the chair against my back. I feel the smooth surface of my phone. I feel my feet flat on the floor. Third, acknowledge 3 things you can hear. I can hear the hum of the computer. I can hear a distant siren. I can hear my own breathing. Fourth, acknowledge 2 things you can smell. I can smell the faint scent of coffee. I can smell the paper in my notebook. Finally, acknowledge 1 thing you can taste. I can taste the lingering flavor of my last meal, or simply the neutral taste of my own mouth. This exercise acts as a powerful emergency brake for a runaway mind. It forcibly yanks your attention out of the chaotic, imagined timelines and anchors it firmly in the undeniable reality of the present. It is almost impossible to be anxious about a hypothetical future when you are fully absorbed in the texture of the desk in front of you. This week, your practice is to become the ancient tree. Every time you feel your mind being pulled into the winds of past or future worry, deploy the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Use your senses as roots to anchor you in the solid ground of the present moment. You are now learning to pause, to find your power, and to anchor in the present. But what happens when the fire has already been lit? How do we manage the flames of rage when they are already burning within us? Our next lesson will address this directly, teaching you how to control the internal firestorm. To ensure you don't miss it, please subscribe to Stoic Power and activate the notification bell. Your commitment to this path is your greatest strength. Lessons 5. Control the internal firestorm. Picture a city in the midst of a great fire. The untrained leader, in a panic, runs through the streets shouting, trying to fight every flame at once, spreading his forces thin, and ultimately watching the city burn. The wise, stoic leader, however, does not run towards the flames. She goes to the source of the water. She focuses all her energy not on fighting the fire directly, but on controlling the resources that either feed it or extinguish it. She knows that you cannot control a fire by swatting at the individual flames. You control it by cutting off its fuel and directing the flow of water. This is how we must learn to manage the firestorm of our own anger. The agonizing problem we all face when in the grip of a powerful rage is that we try to fight the feeling itself. We tell ourselves, I shouldn't be this angry, or I need to calm down right now. This is the equivalent of swatting at the flames. It is a direct confrontation with the emotional energy, and it is a battle we almost always lose. Telling an angry person to calm down only makes them angrier, and the same is true when we tell ourselves. The feeling of rage is a powerful physiological event, a surge of adrenaline, an increased heart rate, a tensing of muscles. Trying to suppress this with thoughts alone is like trying to stop a tidal wave with a bucket. It only increases our sense of frustration and helplessness as the firestorm continues to rage, seemingly with a mind of its own. The transformative solution is to shift your focus from controlling the emotion itself to controlling your body's response to the emotion. You must become the wise leader who goes to the source of the water. Instead of fighting the feeling of anger, you consciously take control of the physical things you can control: your breath, your muscles, and your posture. The core idea is that the mind and body are a two-way street. While your emotional mind can trigger a physical stress response, you can also use your physical body to send signals of calm back to your mind. By deliberately relaxing your body, you cut off the physiological fuel supply that the firestorm of anger needs to continue burning. The benefit is that you regain control through a backdoor strategy. You are not defeating the anger in a direct confrontation, but skillfully and wisely causing it to dissipate by removing its essential resources. To put this into practice, you must develop a physical de-escalation protocol. The moment you find yourself in the grip of an internal firestorm, immediately and intentionally shift your entire focus to these 3 physical actions. First, deepen your breath. Your angry, shallow breathing is feeding the fire. Consciously switch to the slow, deep, diaphragmatic breathing we have practiced, inhaling through the nose and exhaling slowly through the mouth. This is the water. Second, unclench your body. Anger makes us clench our fists, our jaw, our shoulders. Consciously and systematically scan your body and release that tension. Open your hands, relax your jaw, drop your shoulders, release the fuel. Third, change your posture. Anger often leads to an aggressive, forward-leaning stance. Consciously sit back, stand up straight, or even take a few steps to physically remove yourself from the immediate environment. Change the physical conditions. By performing these 3 physical actions, you are sending a powerful, undeniable message of safety and control to your brain. You are using your body to tell your mind that the emergency is past. The firestorm, deprived of its physiological fuel, will begin to subside on its own without you having to fight it directly. This week, your practice is to become the wise fire chief of your inner world. The moment you feel the heat rising, do not engage the flames of thought. Immediately deploy your physical de-escalation protocol. Focus on your breath, your muscles, and your posture. Learn to control the fire by controlling the water. We have now learned how to douse the internal flames. The storm is passing, but the situation that triggered it still exists. What do we do now? When is the right time to speak or act? Our next lesson will provide clear guidance on this crucial step. If you are finding this training valuable, help us reach others by sharing this video and let us know your thoughts in the comments. And remember to subscribe to Stoic Power. Lesson 6. Speak when storm has passed. Imagine a farmer who wishes to plant a seed that will grow into a mighty tree. Would he scatter the seeds in the middle of a violent hurricane? Of course not. The wind would carry them away, and the torrential rain would wash them out. The seeds of thoughtful words and constructive actions would be utterly wasted. The wise farmer waits. He waits for the storm to pass, for the winds to die down, and for the sun to emerge. Only then, in the calm, fertile soil, does he plant his seed, giving it the best possible chance to take root and grow. So it must be with our own words and actions after an emotional storm. Our most common and destructive mistake is that we act and speak from within the storm. In the heat of anger, our words become weapons. They are sharp, cutting, and designed to inflict damage, not to seek resolution. We are driven by a desperate need to vent the pressure, to get it off our chest, believing that this explosive release is a form of communication. But words spoken in anger are rarely heard. The other person, now on the defensive, can only feel the force of the hurricane. They cannot comprehend the message of the farmer. This reactive communication almost always makes the situation worse, creating deeper wounds, escalating the conflict, and leaving a trail of regret in its wake. We have scattered our precious seeds in a gale, and then wonder why nothing but weeds of resentment grow in our relationships. The transformative solution is to adopt a simple, unwavering rule. Wait. You must make a sacred pact with yourself to never make an important decision, send a critical email, or have a significant conversation while you are still in the grip of an emotional firestorm. The wisdom here is to separate the experience of the emotion from the expression of your response. You allow the storm to rage and pass through you internally, using all the techniques we have discussed. Only when your inner sky is clear, when your heart rate has returned to normal, and when your rational mind is fully back online, do you consider how to respond to the external situation. The core idea is that effective action is born from clarity, not chaos. Anger provides energy, but it obliterates wisdom. By waiting for the storm to pass, you allow yourself to re-access your wisdom. You can then harness the residual energy of the anger, transforming it from a destructive force into a focused, purposeful fuel for constructive action. The benefit is immense. You will preserve your relationships, protect your reputation, and find that your actions are far more effective and aligned with your long-term goals. To implement this, you must create a communication quarantine. When a situation arises that requires a response and you feel the storm of anger brewing, you must immediately place the communication on hold. If it's a conversation, you say, "This is important to me and I want to give it the attention it deserves. I need some time to think. Can we please talk about this in an hour tomorrow morning?" If it's a provoking email or text, you do not respond. You can even create a drafts folder called Quarantine, where you can write out your angry, unfiltered response to get it out of your system, but with a strict rule that you cannot send it for at least 24 hours. When you return to the situation after the quarantine period, you will be astonished at how differently you see it. Your perspective will have shifted, and your desire for a constructive outcome will have replaced your desire for battle. This week, your practice is to become the wise farmer. When tempted to speak or act from within an emotional storm, enforce a strict communication quarantine. Learn to respect the power of the storm by refusing to act until it has passed. Wait for the calm, and then plant your seeds of reason and understanding. We have learned to manage the storm and to wait for the calm before acting. The final piece of the puzzle is to understand what kind of action to take. How do we ensure our response is not just calm, but also powerful and virtuous? Our final lesson will illuminate the choice between a momentary outburst and true Stoic power. Don't miss the culmination of our journey. Subscribe to Stoic Power and turn on notifications so you can join us for the final empowering step. Lesson 7. Choose Stoic power over outburst. Consider the difference between a volcano and a great river. A volcano erupts in a spectacular, violent outburst of power. It is terrifying and awe-inspiring, but its energy is chaotic, destructive, and short-lived. It leaves behind a barren landscape of ash and ruin. A great river, by contrast, possesses a different kind of power. It is a quiet, relentless, and persistent force. It flows steadily, carving canyons out of solid rock over time, nurturing life along its banks, and powerfully moving everything towards the sea. The outburst is a momentary display. The river is a constant, creative force. This is the choice we face in every conflict: the power of the volcano or the power of the river. The final and most subtle trap we fall into is believing that an angry outburst is a display of strength. Society often mistakenly equates loudness with conviction and aggression with power. We feel that by blowing up, we are showing the other person that we are serious and that they cannot get away with their actions. We believe our rage is a tool to control the situation and to defend our honor. But this is a profound illusion. An emotional outburst is not a sign of power. It is a confession of powerlessness. It is an admission that external events and other people have such dominion over us that they can provoke us into a state of temporary insanity. It is the volcano, spectacular in its loss of control, but ultimately just a reactive event. The transformative solution is to consciously choose the quiet, unshakable strength of Stoic power over the fleeting, destructive force of an outburst. Stoic power is not the absence of anger. It is the complete mastery of its energy. It is the ability to stand firm, centered, and rational in the face of provocation. It is responding to a situation not with the heat it seems to demand, but with the cool, clear-headed virtue you demand of yourself. It is choosing the river over the volcano. The core idea is that true power is internal, not external. It is measured not by your ability to intimidate others, but by your inability to be intimidated by your own emotions. It is the serene confidence that comes from knowing that, no matter what happens outside of you, you will remain in firm command of the kingdom within you. The benefit is a life of immense dignity, influence, and peace. People are not moved by volcanoes. They are moved by the quiet, inexorable strength of rivers. To make this choice a reality, you must redefine your definition of a win. In any conflict, a win is not getting the last word, proving your point, or making the other person feel bad. A Stoic win is maintaining your own character and acting in accordance with your highest virtues, regardless of the outcome. Before you enter a difficult conversation that you have quarantined, set your intention. Your goal is not to win the argument. Your goal is to embody wisdom, courage, and justice in your response. Ask yourself, what would the most virtuous version of myself do right now? Let that be your guide. This shift changes everything. You will find that when you focus on your own character rather than the outcome, you approach conflicts with a calm and creative confidence. You become a force for de-escalation and resolution, not for chaos and conflict. You become the river, and you will be amazed at your newfound power to shape the landscape around you. Your final practice on this journey is this. In every challenging interaction this week, consciously choose Stoic power over the temptation of an outburst. Define your win as an internal victory of character. Be the river, not the volcano. You now hold the 7 keys to emotional freedom, from seeing triggers as signals to choosing the power of the Stoic response. You have a complete method to pause before you blow up. This is not a set of tricks, but a profound path to reclaiming your inner peace and living with unshakable strength. Thank you for walking this path with us, and for investing in your own growth. If this video has served you, please honor the wisdom by liking, commenting with your own insights, and subscribing to Stoic Power for more journeys into the heart of ancient wisdom. Stay strong.